The topic of the next talk is consciousness and exploration from thermodynamic entropy. As a brief introduction of our speaker, Dr. Ramgopal V.S. Uppaluri is currently serving as Senior Professor in Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Guwahati. He obtained B.Tech in Chemical Engineering from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam in 1993, M.Tech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Kanpur, 1999, and PhD in Chemical Engineering and Process Synthesis from University of Manchester in 2002. After a brief postdoctoral research at Robert Gordon University, Scotland, he joined IIT Guwahati as a faculty of chemical engineering. To his credit, he has more than 150 publications in international journals and 5 patents in science and engineering. His research interests include chemical engineering, material science, food science and technology, machine learning. He has guided 29 PhD students and served the institute at various administrative levels. He served as Vice Chairman, GATE and JAM, Chairman Technical Board, Academic Coordinator for Indo-Japan Joint M.Tech degree in Food Science and Technology. His interest in the field of IKS is in the theme of spirituality and digital media, internal security of India, exploration from Smriti Sastras and Dharma, a Vedantic exposition. He has been instrumental in developing and offering online short courses on science and spirituality. Notable among these are Foundations of Science and Spirituality, Nature of Reality, Professional Excellence, Personal Excellence, Philosophical Excellence, Holistic Personality Development, Yoga and Spirituality, Exploration from Bhagavad Gita, Successful Life Explorations from Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness studies has been his favorite subject of interest. His academic contributions in this field stem from the complementary pedagogy envisioned by his mentor, Dr. T.D. Singh.
So, I hope this topic is a little out of the track from what is going on so far. Thermodynamic entropy and what it means to consciousness. Well, I'm a chemical engineer and I have studied thermodynamics for the past 25 years or so. And this topic, I had a lot of discussions with my peers, especially Professor Sudipta Ghosh, who always encouraged me to go into this subject. So without going further, I go into the topic. So first of all, I will be looking into this matter versus life. In the words of my mentor, Dr. T.D. Singh, he clearly says matter associated with life as life. So when I mean life here, I mean matter associated with life. And when I mean matter, it's just matter. That means not associated with life or consciousness. So I'll be doing some thermodynamic exploration of that. Then later, I will go a little into the chemical evolution of life because that has some connection to this point, and then end up the talk, short talk. So before I go into thermodynamics, let me give you certain background information for those who are new to this subject. The first of all, the thing that we should understand is what is thermodynamics. Thermo means heat. Dynamics means transfer. That means how heat is transported from a system to the surroundings. That's the subject of thermodynamics. In thermodynamics, we often encounter 3 systems. One is called a closed system approaching thermal equilibrium. Because it's thermodynamics, we always talk about thermal equilibrium here. Another thing we call here as closed system operating away from thermal equilibrium. That is non-equilibrium system, closed system. And the third we have is open system operating far away from equilibrium. Why I'm bringing this syntax is because in the next few minutes, what I'm going to discuss, this background is very much required. Coming to the closed system approaching equilibrium. So in a closed system, we say that it has no opportunity to exchange matter or energy. That means it will remain static without any exchange of matter or energy with the surroundings. The closed system operating away from equilibrium, Because if there is equilibrium, you cannot have an exchange of energy. But if you're operating away from equilibrium, you have the opportunity to exchange the energy. It is still closed system or isolated system, but it is operating away from thermal equilibrium. That means since it is away from thermal equilibrium, it can either gain or it can either lose heat from the system. That's the definition. Coming to the open system, operating far away from equilibrium, this is very complex. This is complex in the sense that the system can take matter, the system can take energy, the system can give away matter, system can give the energy. And because it is continuously exchanging mass and energy, you cannot have it operating at equilibrium. So this is a non-equilibrium system, that's what they call. And definitely we all know that simultaneously heat and mass transfer takes place. So therefore, if there is an exchange of mass, there will be little exchange of heat. But if there is exchange of heat, there will be little exchange of mass. So vice versa, so many permutation combinations are also possible. Now, how is this connecting to the topic? My discussion goes from the famous quote given by Professor Mukhopadhyay in the morning today, the quote of Pasteur. How is it that in 10,000 years, that matter is not going to evolve from life rather than life evolving from matter? So the discussion is all here about understanding whether consciousness has any derivations or derivability from matter. So if we say that consciousness can be derived from matter, whether it is thermodynamically feasible, that is what I'm going to look into. It is a very interesting insight. So here is matter, atoms or molecules arranged in a matter system. And according to the second law of entropy, the second law of entropy says that this system, in due course of time, it is natural for this system to get, what to say, disordered. So there is an order of thermal equilibrium, thermal, order is there, higher thermal order is there. I wouldn't say equilibrium. Thermal order, higher degree of thermal order is there. That goes into lower order of thermal order. But remember, this is matter without life. This is what we call as famous second law of thermodynamics. That says delta S always greater than 0. That means all matter processes in the world are irreversible, and a reversible matter process will have 0 entropy change, which we don't find in the world. Any industrial process or any process involving matter always allows the increase in the entropy. Some common examples we always have is that hot coffee always becomes cold. If you have to, the energy of the hot coffee is lost into the surroundings. So if you have to make cold coffee into hot coffee, you have to give heat into it. These are the textbook informations that we get in this subject. So the second law of thermodynamics says that, I repeat again, you come from a higher thermal order or lower entropy state to a lower thermal order, that is higher entropy state. Please note this point. Let's go to life. Life is working in an amazing fashion. What is it? Life has got an inbuilt system. I'm taking a small plant here. Life has got an inbuilt system because of which the life has the propensity to take low energy molecules such as carbon dioxide and water and convert them into high energy matter. So that's such as sucrose. Sucrose is having more energy than water. Of course, it is taking sunlight, it's taking water, nutrients, all these things. So it's a very complex process. But the issue is that if you read again the famous book of Dr. T.D. Singh, Life, Matter and Their Interactions, there's a beautiful table given. In that, one of the point is this. Life has the propensity to operate far away from thermal equilibrium. That means this is the word that Schrodinger coined as neg entropy or negative entropy. That means somehow life has the propensity to export energy to the outside world in such a way that it can still maintain a lower thermal entropy or a higher order within itself. It is not something that will disintegrate its existence. So that's what is the word that is given here. Now, if you try to analyze this system from a thermodynamic perspective, here you can see that life is taking energy. So there is an exchange of energy like sunlight, and it's also taking matter, like it's taking water and all these things. So therefore, it's an open system. And it is not operating close to the thermal equilibrium. So that means we can say that life does not work like matter. This is a very important point that we must understand. Or life means, I mean, not consciousness here. Matter associated with life, very clearly I am explaining, matter associated with life operates in such a way that it can exchange energy to the surroundings and it can still maintain itself at a lower entropy or a higher thermal order. This is what we call as negentropy. Schrodinger uses this word negentropy. In that book, What is Life? He uses this word, negentropy. And he has some discussion in that direction also. Now, the first question that everyone asks here is that, is the second law of thermodynamics broken for this system? The answer is no. The system is in lower entropy, but overall, the system plus surroundings is still having a higher, higher disorder. That's what they say. So it's a little difficult for us to understand. So the second law of thermodynamics is not broken. It is still valid for living systems because this is non-equilibrium system and that is a system approaching equilibrium. So both ways you can find that, the second law is never disturbed or it is again. So now comes the question, when I put these two things together, then the visualization becomes very nice to understand us to consciousness. So if we accept that the Vedantic axiom, if we accept that life particle or spiriton that imparts the property, that has the property of matter, makes the matter associated with life function with this principle as an open system approaching the far away from the thermal equilibrium, then we all know that at the time of biological death, for example, when I die, then I am trying to become a closed system because there is no exchange of oxygen, there is no exchange of, food. I don't take food, I don't take water. So I'm trying to become a closed system. But of course, you can say that I'm having a microbial, decay of my body. But still, whatever it is, whether it's you call it as a closed system or an open system or a closed open system tending to become closed system, the answer is that it is trying to become a thermodynamically, trying to become a closed system tending to reach thermodynamic equilibrium. Now comes the bigger questions that we can ask here. What is it? A system operating far from thermal equilibrium is trying to become a system approaching thermal equilibrium. Whereas if you have this origin of life problem, it is the other way around. It is counter argument. That is, a system approaching thermal equilibrium has to become an open system. A closed system approaching thermal equilibrium has to become an open system and also has to go away from the thermodynamic equilibrium. So that's what is the issue here. How can matter convert into life, or how can matter convert into matter plus life? That's the question here. So we all know that this is more complex than this because anything away from equilibrium is difficult to maintain than anything reaching equilibrium. Anything away from equilibrium requires some external energy or external engagement. So again, this question, Schrodinger in his book, he asks in 1944 book, What is Life? He says, how does the living organism decay? The answer is by eating, drinking, breathing, and assimilating. But scientists have gone even further and they said, no, it has got a system, or organism, a biological system which is integrated on its own. And finally, some scientists like Peterson, who wrote an article in this regard, he says that the DNA and its encoded information is responsible for the intricate order They ultimately boil it down to say that it's DNA. So now comes the question, even if you propose or even if you hypothesize that DNA is what? Is the fundamental entity that drives the order in this and negentropy in this system, the question that then comes is that how is DNA originating? Whether the DNA is originating as chemical or biochemical evolution. Now, this question also has relevance in another presumption. Like many scientists, they don't accept consciousness. They say that DNA is functioning, DNA is there, DNA, RNA replication, all these things are going on. So therefore, the cell is functioning. They don't accept the fact that cell also has a cellular consciousness because they don't have the means to measure it or they don't have the means to gain access into it. So coming to this proposition, I would say that even this is also a very difficult proposition. I'll explain to you why. Now I'll go to the second part, the chemical and biochemical evolution and exploring it from thermodynamics. So the reason why I'm bringing it is, even if we say that the DNA can form on its own, and the DNA is nothing but a representation of consciousness from a scientific perspective, because scientists agree that the DNA without DNA, the cell cannot exist or function. Or if I say DNA or the components of DNA like RNA, the question that comes is that it's a very philosophical question because the DNA evolution itself from chemicals is thermodynamically infeasible. How I am going to explain to you now. So in thermodynamics, we call a process to be a spontaneous or a non-spontaneous process. Spontaneous process means a process that happens just like that. Like say, for example, I take an ice cube and I put it here, it melts. It's a spontaneous process. I don't need to do anything. Ice on its own will melt and then convert into water. That's what we call a spontaneous process. Now, according to thermodynamics, some people have studied that if I give some original components of E. coli, the smallest, microbe or bacterium that we find, small one, and if you can bring it from its precursors, it is stated that its precursors would be something like 2 into 10 to the power 10 atoms. To bring all these into a molecule of this, into an E. coli, the energy conversion was calculated as per some assumptions. And the energy conversion is positive. That means you need to give some energy to it. And the energy equivalence was calculated to be heating or providing heat to a bathtub and increasing its temperature within no time to 360 Celsius. So that much energy has to be given. Now, another issue that comes here is that there is no organization available in this system here. Huh? So if you give this much energy, what will happen? It will explode. It will not convert to form the E. coli. So that is another issue that will come other than the spontaneity. Similarly, if you take this amino acids, so this is like biomolecules, you can have this amino acid is, component of the DNA. And if you convert it into polypeptide, even this conversion is also not spontaneous. So therefore, this is called polymerization reaction. Polymerization of amino acids to polypeptides is non-spontaneous. The reason is, if you have to build DNA from its components, you have to do a polymerization reaction. You have to get a polynucleotide, which will later translate into the DNA. Many interesting things have come out. Can amino acids convert into a protein by chance? Even that calculation was done. The probability of such a random event is 10 to the power 45. I am now going little behind consciousness. I'm trying to see whether consciousness is derivative of matter. I'm going in that. I'm ending. Now, the funniest part here is that when you have to do polymerization reactions, two types of entropies come into existence. One is the chemical and thermal entropy, and another is called a configurational entropy. What is configurational entropy? Configurational entropy means, suppose you convert the N nucleotides into polynucleotide. When the polynucleotide converts into the DNA, it has to arrange in such a way that the polynucleotide isomerizes to exact structure of DNA. That's what they call as configurational entropy. Now, we all know that when there is no life around, we can do what is called a thermal entropy. That is okay. You give some heat, something happens, that happens. But we all know that configurational entropy, so far, whatever has been discovered so far, it is a man-made effect. We convert N-isocene into isooctane, N-octane into isooctane by using a catalyst, which is designed by a chemical engineer or a chemist. We don't have a system in which automatically N-octane converts into isooctane. No, it's not possible. So, who is doing the configurational entropy when life is not existent at the fundamental level? So, that also points to the existence of a conscious entity. Some conscious entity must be there with a superior intelligence to convert this polynucleotide to DNA. Now, I have already covered that order is not possible by chance. I have already, and second thing that comes is that can this evolve by neo-Darwinism? The answer is no. The reason is neo-Darwinism requires a competent system which is self-maintaining. Whereas here, we don't even have a system at place. So, neo-Darwinism is also ruled out. Then the question that comes is that can the system becomes highly nonlinear and highly non-equilibrium? Because you can say matter is approaching equilibrium. You can say life is going away from equilibrium. Again, the answer is no. The reason is presently the system is in an environment that does not demonstrate non-equilibrium or non-linear system. So putting it together, neither chance is possible, neither Darwinian evolution is not possible, nor non-linear or non-equilibrium processes are possible. So therefore, considering this issue, this famous Nobel laureate in physical chemistry, in fact, he is the founding father of non-equilibrium thermodynamics, Ila Prigogine. He wrote an article called Thermodynamics of Evolution. In that, he gave this statement. The point is that in a non-isolated system, that means an open system, there exists a possibility for the formation of ordered low entropy structures of sufficiently low temperatures. That means at very low temperatures, you can have this entropy reduction. And this is the beautiful statement. Unfortunately, this principle cannot explain the formation of biological structures. So that means he's saying that this proposition is not going to get valid for the biological structures. So similarly, another Nobel laureate, these are all old papers, I'm quoting, he conveyed that the audacious attempt to reveal the formal equivalence of the ideas of biological organization and thermodynamic order must be judged to have failed. Why this connection between thermodynamics and biology is failing is because thermodynamics is in a very low level compared to biology, because thermodynamics is only looking into heat. It is not looking into things beyond heat. So putting all this together, these are my conclusions. If self-regulation capabilities of matter, please again understand, in the books of Dr. T.D. Singh, there is more stress on chemical evolution and biochemical evolution, and there is less stress on neo-Darwinism, because the neo-Darwinism picks up from this proposition only, that matter has self-regulation capabilities. So therefore, if this self-regulation of DNA, can it evolve to matter and life? The answer is no, because you are going to a more complex system from a simpler system, thermodynamically. So thermodynamically, it is ruled out that matter can evolve to life. Now, if negentropy is due to DNA, why is this function missing in a person after biological death? See, in a biological dead person also there is DNA, but it is not functional. It is not having the same function it used to have previously. So that question must be answered. If you answer that question, then definitely you will find to this point that the dead cell does not have consciousness. Consciousness, according to Bhagavatam, it is what? It is ahara, nidra, bhayamaidunam. So ahara, metabolism; nidra, cellular sleep; bhaya, defense mechanism; and maidunam, procreation. These four functions are missing. So if you bring our Vedantic conception, then definitely you can understand that these things you cannot understand from the DNA only. They are, little superlative subjects. And configurational entropy becomes the biggest hurdle for the chemical evolution. You can somehow do the chemical entropy, but configurational entropy requires a conscious entity. That also conveys the point about intelligent design in an indirect way. chance also is ruled out, Darwinian selection is also ruled out, and biological structures evolution is ruled out. Biological structures have more complexity than thermodynamically ordered systems. So this is indicating that life is superior to matter. That's what our Vedanta also says. Dhato Brahma Jignasa, because I am not matter, I am spirit, therefore I should inquire into the absolute. So therefore, you can clearly see that matter plus life does not evolve from matter. In fact, matter can evolve from matter plus life after biological death. So therefore, this posture statement to certain extent can be easily understood to have been proven. That's it. Thank you very much.